Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. Today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about HDR, aka High Dynamic Range. So let's dive right into it. Well, first we have to understand what the heck we are talking about. We are talking about something that allows us to improve our viewing experience. Viewing, not recording one, viewing experience. The reality is that people learn this the hard way is that when we went from SD aka standard division aka or CRT to LCD to proper full HD one, the jump in viewer quality was dramatically much better. It was like you went from mono audio to stereo. It was like whoa. But what happened after that? Well, we jumped again. We went into 4K. But here's the deal. At that point, people started to realize the jump from full HD, high quality full HD to 4K. It's not that much. It's not like whoa. Like it's like okay, it's a bit better, but like for in terms of content consumption, it does not have that kind of wow factor that we had from SD to HD. And the same already starting to happen when people are jumping from 4K to 8K TVs. It's like yeah, it's really not that much better. And heck, most of the time it's just running on AI processors because again there are very few 8K content. So to make our viewer experience like richer, to finally realize that old magic of like seeing full HD for the first time, there is a new display standard in town. This is what we are talking about. We are talking about HDR. Now the core goal of HDR is that it tries to imitate real life. So idea is your TV will look like a window. That's it. Like it will literally look like you are where the camera is. You are standing exactly there, and you're just seeing the reality. The reason for that, why we are calling it HDR, aka high dynamic range, is that our eye does not have too much dynamic range. It's like okay, let's say 10 stops. Again, some researchers claim it's 8 stop, but let's go with 10. Here's D. Our eye has a magic trick around. It's the fact is it's always gimbling. So what does that mean? That means let's say you are seeing a high dynamic scene. The moment your eye focuses on let's say the clouds, let's say clouds are underexposed, your eye will auto adjust, capture the data. That data will go into your brain RAM. Then you will see trees. It will auto adjust the color correct data for that, for the brightness, collect the data that goes into your RAM. Then you see the stones, then data is captured, and voila, you see much higher detail. You see much more contrast, much more richness than your eye can actually observe. It's simply because it's piecing it together. So your eye is not technically a camera. It's more close to basically a scanner. So to fulfill this, now you might be like, why the heck we need to have this in a basically TV? The reason for that, even though TV as they are getting bigger, your eye is traveling much more, so you really have time. Your brain has enough RAM capacity right now. It's like I wish there was enough information to fill in the blanks, because TV looks like a TV. It should not, in ideal scenario, it should not look like a TV. It should look like it's just a window. You're just seeing that other one. To achieve that, high dynamic range is our next attempt to that. Same way we try to achieve that by making higher and higher resolution. We reached a point where every Tom, Dick and Harry is like, bro, 4K is like, that's it. Like going higher than 4K is like you may be using 100-inch TV and all that jazz. So resolution wise we reached it, but to make it more richer, where it's like whoa, I'm truly seeing a window into the another world. For that reason we are going for this, so we can truly compensate for our eyes tendency to scan. So even though eye itself cannot see too much detail because it scans and compensates the data, it's always running in HDR mode. So that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to match the active dynamic range. Passive dynamic range, we got this. Like the main dynamic range that we are born with, we got this. Our camera is already much better than that, and many photographers have known this. Is like photograph camera as early as like 2005 and 2010. Digital cameras, they were already like they can see in dark, but because our eye auto adjusts, we in terms of video it's not there yet. So how does this whole system works? Well, camera can easily record. I specify camera can easily record, but if you are familiar with your DSLR or mirrorless camera, you must have seen they have way too much bit depth. Like they can go raw file, can go as high as 16 bit, flat out, no issue. So in terms of bit wise, we got the information. The camera is the easy part, and this is the hilarious part of this. If you have a proper true cinema grade camera or any camera that can do has a good sensor and has a raw output, you're done. You don't have to buy new things. And that's why like many movies that have been recorded on something else or something older, they can still be remastered for HDR, because the camera is not the weak link here. The weak link is the moment you take that footage. It's like you take the YOLO amounts of data. The data, let's say for in simpler sense, 1 gigabyte data is there in the world. Your eyes is like, yeah, I got this 1 gigabyte. Your camera, let's say it's captures lens around 1 gigabyte. Let's just go with that. But by the time it goes to the distribution channel, it gets distributed to your display, it has compressed to like 100 megabytes. So you lost so much of it. So HDR tries to compensate for that. It will not go from 1 gigabyte to 1 gigabyte. It will go from 1 gigabyte to 800 megabytes. So they are trying to give you much more, like much fatter pipe from the camera's point of view. So it really starts to feel, okay, this is just a window that I'm seeing through. That's what we are trying to do. So to handle this, we need to handle two core aspects. One aspect is color. Basically, color has to be richer. Now, if there is a, let's say, a black room, completely black, no light source, does it matter for color? No. So to compensate, so we can actually show rich colors, we have to also turbocharge our brightness. Now, this was not feasible a few years ago, simply because we were either TVs were running on CFL backlights, which were not that powerful or efficient, or plasma scenario, which used to consume power electricity bill like there is no tomorrow. So in those sort of scenario, development of LEDs actually allows LCD to become power efficient enough where the people can actually expect, okay, big brightness does not mean like you need a transformer to run it. So that is first goal, because again, richer color requires a higher brightness, otherwise you will not see it. Then new format and standards had to be created. Standards are very critical. Think of this way, like VLC, we all think about VLC is so awesome, it can handle every format. But here's the deal, you should not need to do that. To give you a simpler example, let's say you buy a audio CD. This is very early on. You had the audio CD. What about an audio CD player in your car? Will it work? Absolutely. What about a Discman? Will it work? Absolutely. Why? Because the format is standardized. It will work regardless. Anything that has a logo of CD, you can play a normal audio CD. It does not matter whether your player is made in, let's say, 2020 and your CD is from like 2005. It will work. That's the whole point of standardization. So for this also, we have to create standardized products. Otherwise, like every Tom, Dick, and Harry will do their own thing. It will not work. Flat out, it will not work. So new format and standards have been created for this. And the mastering process, now this is the independent part. So that is how you can easily see nowadays many Netflix shows have a HDR logo, simply because I specified the camera is not the slow link. So if you had the raw footage properly stored with you, ungraded, because the once you graded, you basically thrown away all the data. So before you grade it, if you have that raw file, even as old as, let's say, Star Wars, like, and I'm talking prequel movies, Star Wars, the Clone Wars, let's say, even that can be remastered to HDR because the camera was that good. So, and again, let's say House of Cards and all that, easily you can do HDR, simply because if you have the raw file, you have the data, you have to remaster it on a completely different mastering process, and you need monitor, display, graphics card, pipeline, basically the display cable, all of them have to be absolute level. Because if they are not on absolute level, so let's say your graphics card is sending 10-bit data, your monitor is ready to receive 10-bit data and display it on a basically panel itself, but your cable, let's say you are using HDMI instead of display port, you may find a scenario where they are running on 8-bit. Why? Because the handshake is not happening on 10-bit. So you have to have a completely independent, dedicated pipeline, and this has been done for many Blu-rays, because this technology has been going on for 2016. It's like, okay, this is the raw file, this is the edited file, here's the tone map it, so it can be truly packaged in a properly well-deserving scenario. Because if you do not do that, you will just have gibberish on the other end. This is necessary. Completely parallel process has to be done to make it SDR and HDR. So how the heck this pipeline works? Now pipelines, our biggest fault right now is that our digital standard is still mostly set on 8-bit. So 8-bit, I can guarantee you, the moment we are watching this video, it's running on either 8-bit panel or 8-bit video file, or flat out everything is 8-bit about it. So why does 8-bit matter so much? 8-bit simply means if you take 8-bit, you split it like 8-bit for red, 8-bit for green, 8-bit for blue, you only get 255 levels, and not even that is thoroughly used, simply because you have to have certain data camps for other metadata. So you only get, let's say roughly, you only get 200 independent levels of colors. That's not much. Now 8-bit is more than good enough, because we used to come from 32 colors. Remember, like very old among you will know that, like CRT TV used to come with that monitor, specifically they used to come like, okay, 32 colors, 16 colors and all that. So 8-bit is more than good enough, and the fact that 8-bit per channel is there, it's more than good enough. But now we have reached a point where it's like, bro, we need more than that. Cameras can record more than that. Heck, there are cameras that can do upwards of 12 to raw 16 per color channel. So this time they are making that pipe fatter. Rather than making the resolution higher, they are like, okay, let's make the pipe fatter so you can really enjoy that 4K that you paid for. So they are going to 10-bit. Now you're like, okay, that's the only 2 bits different. But how the binary mathematics works is kind of interesting. That goes from 200 to 1000 level per channel. So your color, basically the amount of color your computer can represent thoroughly, accurately, goes from teeny tiny to YOLO. So that's at this point, at the moment you go to 10-bit, it's on a different ballgame. Now, 10-bit is an old system. Now 10-bit is not something that magically come. Many colorists have already been used that. If you are familiar with the Quadro graphics card, you must have been familiar with the fact that many of them from day one were coming with the ability of 10-bit driving 10-bit output. There are monitors specifically made for colorists that can basically has a panel that can show 10-bit, not just okay it accepts it and then downgrades it to 8-bit. Panel that can show it, and that's how many of the coloring work has been done. So that part is also set there. So what we are trying to do is taking that professional thing and giving it to you. Basically it's like, okay, they are used to this awesome thing, here's you. So that's the color aspect. We got the color. Now color will not shine in a black room. If everything is black, it does not shine. Then our second problem happened is the brightness, and I specified that nobody would have even thinking about it if we did not have two developments, OLED and local array backlight. Now this is very critical. OLED has the ability to be bright, but it's not that bright. It only goes to, let's say, because per pixel is so tiny, you cannot drive milliwatts of current through there, it will melt it. So it has a maximum brightness limit. However, because the fact the other parts go so black, inherent, like how you're observing it, it starts to feel like, okay, too much contrast is there. So you're like, okay, OLED can do that. It cannot go bright, it cannot go truly bright, so it really cannot go show you the very upper limit of the colors, but it can show more than enough. It can show more than enough, specifically in the blacker parts. However, in LCD, even though LCD technology itself is limited, if you have basically local array backlight, basically right now our LCD is like LEDs here, or like all around, and that's it. They have a diffusion panel, that's it. That's good, that works, but not good enough to make sure that black part becomes black. So what they will have, like multiple small LEDs. Depending on your money you're spending, you can have something that, let's say, Apple display, which has like 500 specific points. You can buy Asus HDR monitor, which has like 1000 points. There are some TVs that have like 2000 points, like 2000 independent backlight. So if scene says make this area black, the LED behind that will simply stop blinking. So you will get much more contrast, and you will have very low blooming. So these are requirement, because okay, we got the color, we got the mathematical data for the color. To show it, to truly make your brain accept that data, we have to package it in brightness. So brightness, like the maximum brightness that is required is 4000 nits. Now that's too high, do not think about it, that's too damn high. Now to achieve all this, people realize very early on scene changes. Like you can be having a, let's say, a end game kind of movie where it's like, one scene is ultra bombastic, everything is going, then could be have another scene much more mathematical, people are sitting down talking about it. You don't want the same lighting on that. To make sure TV can handle this, another idea was included. It's like have a metadata layer, completely independent metadata layer in the data stream itself. So there are multiple standards like HDR10. Now this has static metadata, so it's like, okay, this movie, fine tune it for this. However, this, while it's better than nothing, because that simply means if you have a movie from Michael Bay, it will have different metadata compared to a movie from, let's say, some indie director, it will have different. So you got that, that is good, that's better than nothing. That simply means every TV show can be fine-tuned, basically every movie can be fine-tuned. All that is awesome. But then there is a professional, quote unquote, professional Dolby Vision standard. What does it do? Like its upper limit, it will literally give you scene by scene data or frame by frame metadata. So every frame that your TV is rendering, there is a basic equalizer setting is also coming to it. It's like, okay, this scene requires like, you to tone map like this way. Now why do you have to tone map? Because every display is different. And this operation, if done by television, you can guarantee similar viewing experience in everything. You cannot be like, okay, oh, this HDR Blu-ray DVD only works awesome if you have a laser IMAX projector. That is not viable. So that is why we need to have metadata layer that helps basically display technology to be like, okay, I got this is what you want to show, I'm gonna show it. So that is why static metadata is better than no metadata. Dynamic metadata is awesome. Dynamic metadata per frame is ultra awesome. So this is the whole pipeline. Now, what is the problem with HDR? Well, this is the same problem with Blu-ray. It's like there is no absolute standard, flat out. Nobody knows which standard supposed to have and what they're supposed to mean. On top of that, there are standards within standard. What does that mean? That simply means, let's say you are Visa. Visa is a very big corporation. Corporation would be wrong, but basically, let's say a conglomerate of people who are like, okay, I'm gonna be responsible for standardizing everything. Does it work? Absolutely. They did this. They made HDR. Here's the deal. They have HDR 400. If your monitor is only capable of giving 400 nits, HDR 500, HDR 600, HDR 1000. That's the whole problem. So if anybody can buy, so let's say display HDR 400, their experience compared to somebody who bought display HDR 1000, and I'm talking verified one, it will be day and night different. I mean, like at this point, like if you went from 1000 to 400, you will not even think like, hey dude, it does not even look like HDR. That's the problem. They cannot have substandard, and not to mention not this many. They could be like, okay, one cheap one high end one, D end. They cannot have like 400, 500, 600, 800, and 1000. That just does not work. Like that's a fundamental problem with that. And in terms of cost, my god, now the cost will come down over time, specifically if we ever crack basically micro LED display directly. Yeah, then problems is solved, because micro LED can actually reach a brightness which dwarfs like any technology we have, and it does not have the burnout side effect of OLED. So, and it is actually even more efficient than that. So if we achieve micro LED, the price will go down, and every Tom, Dick and Harry will end up with 1000 luminance. Heck, there is some micro projectors are already shipping with micro LEDs, and they can go up to 10,000 lumens. So lumens wise, we got that. If we go to micro LED, right now we are not there. So right now it's too ludicrously expensive. And then we come to the final aspect, the compatibility nightmare. It's mind-bogglingly frustrating. Like you have to let's say you're like, okay, I want to be a movie aficionado. I want to support the creators, so I'm gonna buy the Blu-ray. You bought the 4K HDR Blu-ray. You bought a player, because 4K HDR Blu-ray requires 125 GB Blu-ray disc. That's a Blu-ray tri-layer. So you have to have a player. Now that player has to communicate with your processor to decrypt it. There is like some very weird DRM, and most of the time it will not work. Like literally, it would be cheaper for you to buy the player. There are certain players, like you can see the forum, people are like, yeah, buy this way, downgrade the firmware so you can unlock the Blu-ray, basically rip it off. Only then you can actually absorb the file that you paid for. And in terms of TV, in terms of movies, everything has this problem. And flat out, because the standards are not standardized, nobody is mastering it truly well, because there are some movies that are wow, like Life of Pi. People have very good experience with that. It's like, yeah, that was truly mastered for HDR. Like it shines, like it looks like, okay, that's completely different. I'm looking through a window rather than looking through a TV. That's awesome. But other movies like Revenant and all that, people are like, and you can see Linus Tech Tips video down below. And other scenarios also, it's like, yeah, it really does not have, because this many substandards. And mastering is key. If it's not mastered well, it's meaningless. That's the whole point. And how the heck I can expect anybody to master it, because they have 15, 16 standards for this. And Dolby Vision, while the standard is the most comprehensive, most difficult, most expensive, again they charge per model wise. So it's not like, okay, I'm gonna pay you this much, give me how to have the standard. No, it's not open source, it's not controlled by anyone. It's like just Dolby. So again, Samsung is trying to create their own open standard. Open standard is necessary, because if unless everybody follows on the same standard, it's gonna be gibberish. And then we come to broadcasting side. You cannot have this kind of weird thing in broadcasting. It has to be standardized. So they created SDR image embedded with HDR image. So what does that mean? That simply means if your TV is SDR, okay, normal TV, it will reject the data, it will not do anything with it. And if your TV is HDR, it will show better highlights. I'm like, that's it. It is just gonna show better highlights. That's not true HDR. So you can understand this is the problem with this. And that was like very early on. Right now it's still the same problem. And if you think OLED TVs are expensive, try to get a proper display certified 600 HDR certified one. There are many TVs that have the logo, but very few has certification. Go for the true certification one. See the price. You'll be like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm not buying this. So that's the problem right now. It needs a one absolute standard, and it cannot have so many substandards. The price has to come down. Again, I am reasonably sure if we ever caught on to micro LED, this problem will disappear, and then we have to figure out this compatibility nightmare. This simply cannot go like, YouTube also has HDR, but that HDR is broadcast HDR, so it's not true HDR. Yeah, it's frustrating, I know. So this was my presentation, a small presentation on HDR in 2020. I hope you liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I'd urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. And please leave a comment, because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.